we asked you a question in one of our YouTube shorts, and that was, do you think this would fit through the door? If you remember, we built this inside. I never took into consideration the dimensions and the size of the door. So when we went to go ahead and bring this out the door, my question was, would this fit through the door? The answer is no. Yeah, we had to make some cuts, so we got 4 couplings, and we're going to go ahead and put this back together. So the first thing we have to do is prime it. Next, we're going to apply the cement and put the couplings on one side. I was careful when I cut this off that I kept track of which pipe was which pipe, so when I put this back together, everything goes back together exactly the way it was. Just in case one of my cuts were off a little bit. Yeah, I tried to measure everything the same, but better to be safe than sorry. Next part, I gotta move a little bit quicker because I have to get all the glue inside all the couplings and then glue the outside, spin this thing back around and put it on. By flipping this, I'm going to get the weight of the rack also pushing down on this. That should be it. We're back in business. Marking these out for my 1.5 inch setback. That setback was already established when we did this wall. About it. Okay, we're going to line up our outside here with our mark at 1.5 inches, and we'll be able to drill this hole. Now, if you remember, wherever these little feet were, we went ahead and did a double piece of plywood there. So that's actually 3 inches. And we're just going to chamfer this a little bit. Just don't want to split anything. In this one. This is going to be a tight fit in here. This was actually the last one that still had a galvanized lag screw stuck in it. Probably should have cleaned that hole out a little bit better. Now, like we did everywhere else, we'll just go ahead and get on our marks. And go ahead and put our little drill points. Now I know a lot of times when I'm trying to explain to you what I'm trying to do, it's kind of difficult because it's in my head. You can't see what's in my head, and I haven't had it laid out on the deck, but now you can see what I've been talking about with this last piece. Now this last piece does have a curve in it. Okay, just like, so you can actually see the curve, just like the other side. So that does give it some stability, but it only has one of these little ears that stick down. Okay, and that's at the gate. The panel behind it has one of those ears, you know, about 4 feet down. But here, right where the triangle starts, that was a wall just like this one. So that's why there's no other support coming, you know, perpendicular from that wall. So that's one of my big concerns with that wall in particular. You know, this wall back here does have two, plus it has the corner at the end. It's going to be a little bit stronger than this wall. So this wall is going to be the weakest wall. That wall will be the second weakest wall. These other walls, you know, this one's going to tie into the console. This wall right here will be able to tie into this. These are going to be as strong as anything. That back wall ties into everything. And you can't even lean against it. But this one, you're going to be able to lean against. And that one you're going to be able to lean against. We're going to have the kayak rack against those as well. So that's why we need to get something vertical that is going to be able to support those. Now my idea is like a piece of pipe with some kind of flange on the bottom that we can bolt into the floor, that would come up and we'd be able to bolt it up to the top. Now I'm thinking I'd like to have it, you know, big enough that I could actually put a rod holder in the top of it, or I could hold a grill, a fishing rod, something like that. Make it multi-purpose. We won't know exactly where we're going to put them until we put the kayak racks on here, and it just so happens I think I know where I might be able to find a rack, and we can slide some kayaks up here and see how this thing's going to fit. Looks pretty big. Yeah, it sure does. Well, that's just about where I envisioned it. get a kayak and slide it on here and see how it fits. All right, so this isn't exactly what we want. These scupper holes right here should be lined up with that pole right there. So it's about 3 feet. And the problem is going to be, as we were moving this around, the tent poles are going to be in the way, because that cross piece is going to hit this tent pole. So we're going to be able to pull it up a little bit. Now, the one thing I am noticing, last time I think I had these on here, I'm not sure if I actually had the seat in there. So that seat's taken up almost 2 feet, 20 inches or so of our deck, which puts us real close to the end here. So, because that's about, well, that's as far as that kayak is fitting. I mean, that kayak's not going any further back. It's hitting the seat. No matter where this sits, that kayak's not moving. So that's basically where the bottom kayak is going to fit. And the plan was to have all three of them stacked up in a row. Obviously, we can't get 2 of them or 3 of them on here with the still being on the tent, but we do have that one on. The original plan was then to put the other kayaks on bow first, so the bow is going to come up in here, and that's going to bring the bow probably pretty close to here. We'll have to grab another kayak and move that over here and see. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be able to attach this rack pretty easily to that sidewall over there. That rail lines up pretty close with the 2 rails. This rail right here lines up pretty good with the rail on the wall. So we'll be able to tie those 2 together real easy to keep the rack from moving too much. And that's going to, because this whole rack is going to get moved up to probably about here, we'll be able to actually span across that door to hold the rack. So I'm not worried about the rack moving, which was originally one of my bigger concerns. Once we get those walls secured so that they're not going to move, yeah, I feel pretty confident that we'll be able to tie the rack right into those walls without a problem. The question is the other kayaks, because I'm concerned with how many I'm going to be able to fit on the deck. You know, the one thing I really haven't talked much about is the fact that in the back of that seat, right in the middle, there is a pin that will get installed for, like, if you were going to pull water skiers or pull tubers or something like that. That will it's going to allow us to tow kayaks. So, and actually one of our things was that if we, you know, got into a situation where we were going to fish one area and then move to another area, is to simply just tie off all the kayaks behind the boat and tow the kayaks to the next spot. So that's always an option, because, you know, these kayaks are about 90 pounds a piece, and I'm not getting any younger to be pulling them up over that front constantly. So that's definitely a concern too. But all right, let's go ahead and get that other kayak and see how that fits. Well, this is kind of the moment of truth here, because this is about all the room we have. So this is how it would look with 4 kayaks on here. Now, my vision is for this to be really the maximum amount of kayaks that I have on here. One of the things that I'm learning as I'm talking to people, I'm getting a lot of people asking me if I'm going to have tandem kayaks. Currently, I do not. My plan is to get at least 1, probably 2. If I do that, all of a sudden, I can carry twice as many people in half the amount of kayaks. It's mostly, you know, a family thing, or a couples thing. You know, boyfriend or girlfriend wants to introduce their other half to the sport of kayaking, or taking a kid out, introducing them to the kayaking. So this is going to be a premium service, obviously taking you out to places where most people aren't going to be able to kayak. So we're thinking that probably 4 people is going to be the usual amount for charters. Normally, we're chartering 2 to 4 people. It's either 2 fishermen going out, or it's 4 people that are going out fishing. So we're going to kind of assume that this is going to be the same kind of thing, which is why I was worried about the getting 4 kayaks on here. We can get 4 kayaks on here. I think what I'm going to do is my plan was to build another rack And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a rack very similar to this one, except it's only going to be 2 high. This would let me carry 2 Bonafides. I would be able to carry 2 Bonafides, 2 tandems, or 2 Bonafides and a tandem on the floor where the orange one is now. So we'd still be able to carry 2 with a smaller rack, or we could carry 4 with the larger rack. So I think that will actually work pretty well. Now this kayak here that's on the floor, I don't think I'm going to use 2 racks on the deck at the same time. Now that I'm looking at it here, I think it's just going to be too much going on, because in this seat here you could fit, 4 people could sit there if they wanted to. But if you have 4 people there, you only have this much room in between. Now if I was to slide this forward more, which I can do, I really don't need to, because I'm well inside the boat. It does cut off going to the back, but the way it is right now, you can still walk back here, and I can still, even with the kayaks, with 2 kayaks in here, I can easily fit 2 people there. So that's good. We can carry, I would say comfortably 5 people, and we can definitely carry 6 people on here if need be. And if it came down to we needed to have 6 Bonafide kayaks, I would not hesitate to drag 2 of them. Especially this orange one is the last one. People will see that one. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah, it's nice to see what this thing's gonna start to look like. We do have to get a few things on the console. Maybe steering wheel might be important, so we'll get on that next. We have to go ahead and lay out our hatches for the front now, that at least we know this all fits, because this, obviously this was a concern. In retrospect, I wish I would have spent a little more time in the planning stages, just because it would have made this whole job go easier. But it's all working out in the end. So, okay, so here's a view from the other side. You can see now this is the kayak pushed all the way back as far as it would go. So there's plenty of room. And if I was to pull this forward, I could pull it all the way this far forward. And you can see it gives still plenty of room to walk around. There won't be a problem with weight, because these things are less than 100 pounds spread out this whole distance here. So there we have it. That's about how it's going to fit.